So, welcome everybody. This is the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council Environment and Sustainability Committee meeting. And welcome everybody. Let me just bring up the agenda. Let's see, share screen. And while I'm doing that, just for the sake of it, let's just each person speak for half a minute. Thomas Norman, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Sure. Thomas Norman. I've been a professor at Dominguez Hills, behind me in the background, for 15 years. I teach in our management and marketing department. And one of my interests in this committee, I've got a colleague, a environmental scientist, who's been studying air quality with purple monitors, and he just installed one in my house yesterday and went outside for another project. I know that's something our council's tried to do with the city money, and we may never do that, but I may have somebody we could contract with. We'll see how that goes. Maybe in the future, if we want to look at air quality in other areas of San Pedro, he and his student team, might be able to incorporate. I am going to, with the permission of the chair, I'd love to invite him to speak to this group in August or September once he has the summer data collected, just to let us know what he's finding from his 11 stations located around the port area of Los Angeles. So by way of introduction, I thought that was kind of on point.
Well, wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. That happens to be one of our agenda items. So I would love to continue with that. It is not that there is no hope. We do have great hope in still utilizing the approval. I've got some updates on that, and we'll get to that soon. So Mary, feel free.
I actually, when I mentioned about my electric car that I just got recently, it was through the grant of the South for the Clean Air Act.
So you got the rebate.
Well, I got a grant.
You got a grant, even better.
Yes.
And maybe
Yes.
we can discuss that later as a topic. Actually, that would be wonderful. Let's see, show all windows. Now I got to bring my, here's the agenda. Oh, that's not the agenda. That's my report. Oh, well, that has the agenda. So there we are. Unfortunately, I can't see everything while I screen share, so I'm going to have to bring it off. Does everybody have the agenda available to them?
I do. I have it from Google Drive.
All right. So I got to find my print. Here it is. Okay. All right. So we're just waiting for Peter, but Mary, as far as that's concerned, do you have anything else to mention in the welcome and introductions?
No, I think I mentioned that I served on neighborhood council before.
Yeah, well,
continue.
This is our own meeting, so we have to start from scratch on some topics.
But Ms. Thomas, did you know that information? Just
No, I'm glad to know that. So thanks.
And
I served on board with your son when he was also a member.
Oh, okay. Fantastic.
And then I'm Gwendolyn Henry. I'm the chair of the of this committee, and my background is media, but I of course am now studying environmental sciences. I've gotten a certification in forestry, and am continuing with GIS and some other biology components. And I'm also now officially a San Pedro community gardener, as is another one of the members in Coastal. And we're trying to move some amazing things with that. And there are a lot. We're actually along the lines of that. There's discussions with the Department of Sanitation to clean up their act. There are certain things at that site that
Mhm.
needed addressing. And as far as cleaning up the parking area, of course, the heavy equipment up there, and there are certain compliance things. And hopefully through this partnership and discussion with them, there's going to be a great example for the rest of the city in community garden thriving, and as well as the Department of Sanitation doing a lot of things to make sure that they're probably going to be one of the most important departments in the 21st century, um, as far as recycling and composting and the rest of it. There's the science components in the Department of Sanitation are growing leaps and bounds. Anyway, and with that,
Mhm.
does anybody have any public comment on non-agenda items, even though we kind of mentioned some? Yes, Mary.
Well, you just mentioned composting, and I wanted to know if anyone know anything about that subject matter, because now in San Francisco, the city of San Francisco, it's a requirement for residents to do the composting.
Well, we can
And I like the idea. That's why I'm asking.
well, that is actually, well, just I know that we're in the public comment and it's not really a dialogue time, but just so you know, the city of Los Angeles, the Department of Sanitation has been directed to have to have more of a separation of garbage and a real compost program that it's going to become very robust.
Hmm.
And I don't know how, I'm really not sure how they're going to get everyone compliant and the education going, but I believe that the neighborhood councils will have to take a great hand. But there is going to be, I mean, what they've agreed to do and how they're going to implement it, I'm still going there. But the relationship with the Department of Sanitation, the one right over here on Gaffey, is a good one,
Right.
and we probably can really support anything. The other thing that you should know about the Department of Sanitation over there is that the quality of life team is over there, and the quality of life team is that's the euphemism. They are the group that come out after many different appointments with services and with mental health care workers and with the police. At some point, an encampment will eventually have you ask everyone if they will accept services, if they will accept housing, and those that do are they're directed in many different directions, but it is with the intent of that final day of removing that encampment, which is in a 4118 area. 4118 meaning that it is an area that has been excluded from encampments because it's close to housing and services, it's near a school, it's near a park, and or of something of that nature. So the quality of life team is the Department of Sanitation team that helps to discern what they want to keep and what needs to go into the bin. And so it's a very respectful process, and the quality of life team is the one that helps with the separation and removal of unnecessary things.
They should have done that already because it was all over the news.
Yes, it is ongoing, and one of the teams, one of the teams that helped with the Venice, they're right over here. It's a large group. This is a big Department of Sanitation that we have.
Would you believe, Mary, not everybody reads the news. I sometimes reference newspapers in my course, and students are like, what? What is that thing? So we have a generation that gets their news from Facebook. Where I'm from, my hometown used to have the daily paper. It's down to 2 issues a week.
Mhm.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
also, and I mean, in general, there's countries who've done this so much better, way ahead of us, like Denmark, Sweden. And I personally visited Sweden myself many years ago, where compost and all that way of life is the way of life. It's like, why do we need to argue about it? And they're better for it because they're healthier, they're happier folks, and so forth. And it gets the environmental sustainability. It doesn't, we don't really have to argue so much about it.
Well,
That's what I don't understand about here. Always an argument, always. And I'm talking America, because I identify Thomas as a person with Chinese ancestry, because I come from Hong Kong and my parents from China. So I've lived in different parts of the world and so forth, and I just find that so baffling.
well,
Thank you. It's not off topic now, but thank you.
well, with composting as well, the community garden is going to have a vermiculture, worm composting, which is very important, very nutrient rich. There's and there's going to be education up there as well. But with that, you are absolutely right. If actually everybody's gardens would benefit if there was more composting even on site. Um, the idea of purchasing fertilizers is still, those fertilizers are not as good as a backyard compost bin. It really, there's something to be said about that. Well, with that, I still see that Peter is not with us, but we can start talking about some of the other items. Sorry, do not, I printed up the wrong item here. Sorry, I do have to go over here to the agenda. All right, so, oh yes, discuss the recent brush fires at Peck Park and San Pedro. And the San Pedro Community Garden. So I'm sure that, I mean, for the sake of this recording, I had brought this up as a topic during public comment, but Peck Park had a very big brush fire. We discussed it last month. Last night, there was another brush fire in Peck Park. And the community garden also had a brush fire. All of them are related to the unhoused and activity. And with that, what I've done is I took two tours through Peck Park. One of them immediately after the fire, and one about a few days ago. And immediately after the fire, you could see that one concern is that the non-native grasses, it's drier now. Usually at this time of year, it's springtime, even the non-native grasses are still green. There's been enough moisture to keep them going. But we are having drier, more heat and less rain and drier conditions. So those grasses got to summertime conditions very quickly. The breezes, of course, the fire occurred at the same time that the Laguna Niguel fire was happening. Those very expensive houses that literally burned because it went all the way up, and the winds blew it up. They even had pools and like 80-foot expanses, and they had defensible spaces already created, but nonetheless they burned. And that was kind of the conditions here. It's only, thank goodness, the winds weren't that strong. The grasses did burn. We have some defensible space in decomposed granite pathways that are very wide. You can actually drive a truck across it. And because the winds weren't just were just below strength, they didn't leap over to the new patch of grass that there's additional slope that goes to the fence lines for different properties, all the way down Peck Park, and that did not catch fire. Plus, a lot of the residents were out there with hoses, and the reaction time of the fire department was tremendous. There, with the helicopters came and were constantly dousing. The trucks came, but with that, I went over there, and the community has asked for certain things. Um, there are certain locations near the park that are right there near sidewalks where there's open expanses, and it looks like they are perfect opportunities for the city to install fire hydrants that are much easier accessible and can be utilized in the park, but are on the city property where they need to be, because it is city services. It can't be on the park property, but it can be on the street and in the city area. And there are some strategic places that we could possibly map out. Um, I reached out to the director of the regional director of Rec and Park, and that's Deanne Dedman, and she has told me that the schedule for cutting grasses has always been the first week of July, just before 4th of July, because that's when fireworks happen and that kind of thing. I had asked her if what could possibly be done to change that schedule or enhance that schedule with another cutting based on the quality of the grass, whether it's dry or not, and what's going on. Um, the other thing to know is that the shrubs, the trees, when they grow all the way to the ground. The shrubs grow up and they're under trees, and the trees themselves have overhanging branches, and they're all the way to the ground. Not only does that create sheltered areas where people can reside without being seen and have activities that start fires, but also um, it is unsafe. Any wildland, I mean, I honestly have to say that Peck Park is not just a park. It's not a city park. It is actually a wildland interface. It has a canyon, a wild canyon where wild animals, the coyotes and wildlife actually go move up and down the
Yeah.
canyons. So
Mhm.
so what's required in those areas is a 5-foot distance between the ground and the lowest branches of trees, and so that's a necessity of all of the trees in that area. That hadn't occurred. So the second trip, let's move forward. The second trip with another group, um, there was a crew that came out, and much of the park is now up to those standards. All the grasses have been mowed except for a few areas, and all of the trees had been cut to that elevation. Shrubs had been removed. The stream bed where the site was, where it actually most likely started, the stream has been cleared considerably. But those are the things where I believe that we can try to get more funding for Park and Rec, and possibly a different schedule than the July one. There are different things that we can do. Also, Deanne was mentioning that the maintenance crew have always had a native plant landscaping in mind, and it's always a matter of time and budget. These last 2 years of pandemic, uh, they they took early retirements from a lot of people, so they've been understaffed. A staff of 33, 50, somewhere in there, had been reduced to 4 in the maintenance. So anyway, the so they're right at this moment hiring everybody back. They did get their funds back and they're ready to go. So there are certain things that we can do as far as mitigating the parks. making sure that they're up to certain standards, maybe motivating. The two groups that I went with, they're very excited about the idea of creating community-based volunteers who will help to replant the park. There's a great groundswell, and the interest is there right now, especially with these fires. So hopefully, as a neighborhood council, we can help to support this and help to maybe create some action around it. So that's the deal there. Let me try Peter one more time. I just wanted to give that.
I have a
Where we are. Yes.
suggestion, Gwen.
Yeah, I'm ready.
For example, there are Boys and Girls Club, Girl Scouts, etc. I mean, of course, it depends on the age group. I don't know if it's because families is also could be very interested. If we gauge the folks who are younger, it will really help for them to understand the environmental aspect of sustainability better.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Peter is on his way. Let me see if I can. Let's see. Did I send you the link, Mary, through a text? No, I didn't.
For what?
Trying to remember.
For what?
I'm trying to find the link just to let Peter in really quick. And while we're doing this, Richard
Are you
has
talking
sent
about a
me.
meeting?
Peter is going to be joining our meeting in a moment. And while we're waiting for that, let's see. Do we have anything else to talk about? Are there any suggestions or ideas with the park, or anything that can be done environmentally? Seeing none, we're going to go to the air quality sensors. So, just letting you know, the Department of Sanitation. So this is interesting. That's happened over at the community garden. But what you were just talking about, Tom, about getting students involved and that kind of thing. That's
That was me.
well, I think that Tom actually had an action plan with that in mind.
Mhm.
There's another thing that's happening is that the community garden, the San Pedro Community Garden, many years ago had received a harbor community benefits, harbor benefits, community benefits foundation grant of $24,000. And I was investigating what had happened to those funds, and finally it had been found out that they never pulled on that grant. It is still available to them. And one of the things that the community garden had wanted was Wi-Fi up there for various reasons. And there is a very good possibility that it will have Wi-Fi, which will allow one of those sensors to be within the garden. The Department of Sanitation has also shown interest in in um, uh,
The records, the
in
data.
actually being an overriding organization that will give that sensor protection. And I have some individuals over at there's Andrea Hricko and Edward Aval from USC Keck. They're they're the people who have been doing that ongoing um, project with children, asthma and pollutants in the area, and doing that long-term study as to the long-term health impacts of port pollution. They were the driving force in getting one of the driving forces in getting sensors and monitors available throughout the port. I believe that they are also another organization that can take over the responsibilities of using that data for the benefit of our community. So, Tom, if we could talk about that on the side, and I need to get this I've got to get this link to him. Oh, he's driving.
Oh, no.
Okay, well, this is fine. Okay, so I'm just gonna give him a thumbs up. We're just waiting for him for the votes. So, um, so Tom, if you have anything in particular, do you want to coordinate some of these things? I was gonna reach out.
Yeah, and so the professor Tian Jun, is doing a study. He spoke to the port committee a while ago. With the first study, which he had twice the sensors, but only measuring outside of homes. This one is half the sites, but he's got two sensors, one inside the home and outside, and that might make a, more of a policy, argument how this is affecting you in the house, or detect different things, right? He's a scientist, so whatever the data shows, which might be of interest. But academics take a long time for a lot of people. Right? He's going to finish the study. He'd want to present around September, but I'd like to engage him. So I don't, have the ability to supervise this myself, but I'd like to engage him and get him and his student who is in my house, aware. There's a different student who I supported that got Department of Transportation money too. So I think, I'd like to be kept in the loop and try to engage folks. It's, it can be a little bit of a longer term process, but it might be a way to go to even deal with my understanding is the city would prefer rather than myself and who was going to help me like to install things on city property to try to contract that out to someone else. So this might be a good way to go, just as they get grants from the Department of Transportation or state of California. Maybe we, could do a grant specifically for what our a Northwest Neighborhood Council or maybe a group of areas in San Pedro, Wilmington, might want to do something even bigger to better inform our district. So I'm very open to, instead of in a full meeting, we should probably have some offline conversations.
Yeah.
But just wanted to share that I am pursuing that, at a pace that I think is relatively fast, but might be slow for others.
That I think that we have, yeah, as far as taking action on this, we really should have sensors. Once again, I think I've mentioned this before and we've had this discussion, but and let me know if I've already discussed this in our meeting. But for example, right there at the Science Center, one of the South Coast Aqmd sensors are right there on the site. In fact, the director of the San Pedro director and the administration for the San Pedro area for the LAUSD are in those offices, and they do not have Wi-Fi. The South Coast Aqmd sensor, which is, I mean, it's a substantial unit, is ineffective. And from what I understand, the other sensors that are designated at the different schools also have the same problem. Wi-Fi is a problem at the schools, and so therefore the South Coast Aqmd sensors are essentially ineffective. I don't know if we want to consider having our own sensors in those areas, or try to initiate and insist on funding for that, because it isn't just that, it's that the LAUSD has not provided Wi-Fi that their staff does need, which that's shocking. Yeah, Mary.
Right, then the questions would be, is it because they don't want any Wi-Fi at all due to anybody using it or so forth when they don't want them to? What are the reasoning why there wouldn't be any Wi-Fi?
Well, this is something that has been told that they are going to get, and they have not gotten.
So
They've
who
been
was supposed to
told,
provide the Wi-Fi and payment every month?
well, that's the overall school district. It should, there is a funding source, there's an intent.
Okay.
So
Oh, and another piece of it is because you guys are thinking about at the port, and of course does that also include the refinery in Torrance and so forth, our neighborhood? I don't know.
Phillips 66 has
Very good.
sensors. Yes, Phillips 66 has sensors. But what has been that so you understand some of the difficulties. The South Coast AQMD has a task of having
Mhm.
sensors all through the area, and as long as my memory, my working memory on this, in fact, the first Clean Air Action Plan meeting that I went to, which was a large one in Wilmington with the ports of Long Beach and Los Angeles, they were all there. Um, the the mayor was there. This was a big grand brouhaha because this was the big beginning again of the new Clean Air Action Plan for everything that we're dealing with now. And Andrea Rico got up and said, well, we have a problem in that how are we going to continue to measure and talk about the improvements that are going on in the port when the readings, the we have broken, uh, unusable, the South Coast AQMD readings are a failure. So we do not have the readings that we need within the communities that really is one of the components of what spurred on the Clean Air Action Plan, one of the key things. And it's been an ongoing thing up until a Clean Air Action Plan update. Even I think it was two ago, I went to one of them, and Andrea Rico was there again. And the South Coast AQMD was embarrassingly saying that we are going to a new contractor. We're going to put out new bids. Our sensors we know are a failure, and we need to get new have a new contract. And Richard at that meeting had said, well, as well as Andrea, were saying, well, it's all fun and good to get a new bid and a new contract, but if the sensors, if the bid is too low or you get a new contractor, it doesn't guarantee that this one will do a better job than anyone else. There are systemic failures here. So that's why the interest in creating our own to keep them frosty.
Thomas, what do you have in front of your house?
Oh, these are just very small purple air monitors, as we've discussed before, in these groups and the wider neighborhood council. So it doesn't have all the things that the AQMD does, right? But it could be a baseline, pollution, and they're quite inexpensive. So it's
Very basic.
it's like the size of an oil filter. If you've ever seen an oil filter, or about this size, two of them. It does require Wi-Fi, so he gives the householder a stipend. I think it's $300 for 2 sensors for use of the Wi-Fi or whatever. So he's got a grant, and last time I think it was $100. I would have let him do it for free, but you have to just go by whatever the rules are, so it's not biased. So that's what we're doing.
That would be really interesting to write up for our website, I think. Don't you
Yeah.
agree?
Yeah, and I think his first study, he could, we can invite him to present, and we can put that in the newsletter, and then as he expands, and then we can help him get more outreach, because he just knows a few people.
Right.
So then we could help him broaden, and the science will be better, because his thing is science, right? What does the science tell us? And I did want to comment, Gwendolyn, too. It's really frustrating that I thought all these agencies were protecting, but if they take forever and they need to then rebid things, my couple experiences going to the port, president's meeting and chamber president's meeting, is that they're like, 18 months will tell you, if you're going to die of pollution. Right, that's just not long enough. I mean, they didn't phrase it that way, but they have to have all these scientists look at it. So I asked the scientist, he said, yeah, but you can get a pretty good guess. You qualify it based on a quick analysis of the data. This is what came in this month, and then we might look at it a little bit more. But he's hard pressed to say it wouldn't be possible for them to give us data in a much more timely fashion than we're receiving.
And I believe that is why we're trying to go through and around it. The South Coast AQMD monitors also were questionable. For example, you take all of the readings, and it's like, well, about 25% of these sensors, these monitors, you're utilizing their data and you're adding it to the report. But if you look at the data that is coming from these 25% of sensors, it says zero, zero NOx, zero SOx, zero oxygen, zero, and it's like, well, clearly there is no zero reading for any of these things. You're utilizing a zero sensor as part of your data, which is lowering the heightened data that you might have on one that's effective. And you're averaging it out with these other ones that clearly there is no atmosphere that has a zero reading. So, anyway, so with that, it's even should be entertained to mount some sensors next to the South Coast AQMD sensors, Thomas, I can't mute.
Sorry, my daughter came in. I wasn't trying to talk to you guys, but I did just want to share that I have a daughter that's going to be getting the Gold Award in Girl Scouts, who was excited. Well, she's just starting. She needs a big project. She told me she wants to work on a garden. She's trying to find a garden like the one by the Holy Trinity Church. And so there's two things you said. Maybe we'll have a student volunteer, kind of like Alex. She's very service minded, who would be interested in following you, Gwen, in the park to see the replanting you discussed. So I'll just throw that out there, saying she popped up and wanted to know what we're talking about.
That is a full-on gold project. That is a true gold project. Absolutely. I'm excited.
Okay. All right. So that's why I was talking.
Fantastic. Yeah. That's newspaper stuff.
I think it's really worth, and again, the younger generation to help in the schools, because they really into the activism much more.
And I'm just gonna, hopefully, I'm gonna cross my fingers with Peter. Here. Sorry.
Not go without him?
I'm gonna find out what's happening with him so we can get these votes done.
Yeah. I like to think outside the box a lot, Thomas. So that's why when something happens.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think that's
a very creative person. Even for our homeless situation, I always said that we should really just have a retired cruise ship at our dock for the families who are homeless, not just anybody, but then they do have to do community service. And for example, the cruise ship is open for folks who want to go and do training, because everything's already built, their rooms, their facilities. And if people want to go take a look at the cruise ship, we can do that. We don't have to go and build things now. And we can have hundreds of folks who are still, actually, a lot of folks are still working and still have no homes. There's a lot of layers of that. It's amazing. So we're still talking about this, sadly.
And the South Coast AQMD sensors were put in how many years ago? At least 10, not 15. 2015 is when I became aware of them, and that was already a 10-year, I believe that was a 10-year anniversary. Was it 10 years prior to that? Something of that nature. Anyway, so yeah, I believe that we'll have some action that we can take on the air quality sensors next month. I believe that I will be able to, all of the comments that I am putting together for Peck Park for the fires will be forwarded to the public safety team. So the next thing on the agenda, of course, we don't have anything new for. It was the Healthy Building, Healthy Places. This is something that really we have a lot of opportunity to do a lot of good. So I will discuss with Diana. Let's see. And of course the Green Hydrogen Hub, that's the one that needs a vote, as well as the Dominguez Channel. Those are the next things on the item. We will come back to that. Now, this is another thing that is going to impact our community. We're already, the Department of Water and Power has already announced a limit to 2 day a week, an 8-minute watering restriction twice a week. It is very feasible that it could even go to once a week. And that's pretty dramatic. Now, I'm hoping that maybe we might be able to do some kind of outreach on this. This is highly impactful. Um, uh, in the Just so you know, for community gardens, this is also quite a question. The expense of water. Um, the community gardens have been a way to bring green spaces to communities that are that have a tremendous deficit of green space, um, and they are reliant on water. And usually those areas that do not have trees and open space also have communities that have limited incomes, and now there is a component, a membership. There's a fee to have a community garden space, and it is water reliant. Now, most community gardens get a lowered water rate because it isn't for an agriculture purpose. But still, it this is difficult on communities that might even rely on the food as a source of nutrition, and a lot of times it is a source of nutrition for them, and as it is at the San Pedro Community Garden. A good portion of the gardeners are Spanish speaking. They come from different communities. It even is a way of earning some wages as well. So uh, the so there is an ongoing discussion. From what I understand, Watts Community Garden is having concerns with this, and they're having discussions. And there's some other areas in CD15. The community garden that I'm part of, that $24,000 grant that I had discussed, that was not unknown. That there's different things that they're working on now that they will put to that purpose. This community garden has enough money to pay the water bill currently, um, but the scheduling of twice a week of watering has been very difficult because it's a large garden, and there's just so many challenges. Anyway, um, I I'm hoping to uh, get a larger idea of some of this, and with the Cool Blocks program. Once again, this was mentioned in the joint sustainability meeting, and I'm putting it on the record here. Uh, Anybody, including you, Thomas, your community, you can start a Cool Block in your area to one of the things that is the biggest importance is you get improvements in your community by learning who your neighbors are and having a relationship with them. Everything from public safety, neighborhood watch, emergency preparedness, if there's an earthquake, um, if there's a crisis, and as well as best practices for water conservation and everything like that. All of these things come from getting to know your neighbors. So it's a first building your community, and then passing forward things that benefit everybody, and that the Cool Blocks has many different purposes depending on your community's needs. So, even if it's childcare, maybe there's too many kids, and there needs to be a way of having a safe space for your kids. Who knows? All of those things. So, um, uh, just just so you know, it's available to everyone and you can still sign up. And Peter, see if I have, see what we have. That's odd. Oh, huh.
Oh, I just realized President Biden is in LA for the Summit of Americas.
Mary, when you joined in,
Yeah.
you used the
I
agenda.
text you. I
You
text
joined,
you the line.
you joined through the agenda link, correct? The link that was in
No,
the,
I was on the document. Yeah.
it was on the document. How interesting. Peter's
But
supposed
I texted you with the number here. When you asked me for the number, I texted you. On the phone?
No, it was the link. I'm asking about the link that you used to get into the meeting. He's struggling with the link in the agenda. And I'm just wondering, you used the link in the agenda, correct? I think you're muted. I think you're muted.
I used the one you emailed, but
Yeah, I know you used the panelist one. Mary, I couldn't hear you. Did you use the one that was
Oh,
in,
I said I went to the website and then you moved me as panelist.
meaning you used,
On our website, the Northwest NW San Pedro.org, our neighborhood council website. That's usually where I go and look
for the
for
agenda?
things.
And you used the one in the agenda?
Yeah, agenda things, because it's always going to be there. Going through all my emails takes forever.
No, I
But if I
understand.
go to the website, it's direct, effective, it'll always be there.
No, I
I
know.
work effectively.
I just wanted to find out if that's what it was. He's still working on joining the meeting.
But I have to go. I can't stay.
Oh, no. Hold on.
How long do you know he's going to be?
He's
We
been,
don't have a quorum if there's just 3 of us?
that's
Is
correct.
that the problem?
That's correct. And Peter's been struggling to try to get in. He tried to find the email, even though I gave him the date.
But don't find the email. Just go. I already sent you the link. I already sent you the Zoom. Send it to him and he'll go on Zoom
I
and
did.
plug in the number.
Yes, that's what I did.
Okay. Or go on the website. Look for our meeting. It was there. It's very simple.
Oh, wait,
Sounds
hold
like him.
Here, I'm going to forward it to him. Oh my God, it's not. Wait. Ugh.
What's his email?
We're on a recording, so
Oh, sorry. You're right. You can text me.
I'm trying to forward.
You can text me. I'll send the email for him.
Oh my goodness. All I want to do is forward it.
Gwen, can you text me on the phone and I can email him?
Wow, this is being crazy. Hold on.
Not.
No, oh, this is, I'm doing my best here, Mary. Forward. There. Go. Goodness. Technology is supposed to make our lives easier. So, well, with that, is there anything else that anybody has as a topic to possibly bring up at the next meeting? Nothing? Okay. So we're just waiting on that. Let me start sharing the screen so that should he pop up, we will give him, can you wait 2 more minutes, Mary? We're almost at 9. We should be able to get through this fairly quickly. All right, there's that one. If you can see him show up. Oh. I think he might have. Let's just give it 1 more minute. Thank you. Thank you for being patient with us. Otherwise, we will adjourn. I'm a little disappointed that we wouldn't be able to get through these. We basically have the approval, but we do need the quorum. We do need quorum. So, would anybody be interested in a very short meeting, which it would just require the votes at a future date?
You know, I hate to have all the work lost because we can't have a quorum. So if we need, I'll try to make myself available for a short, 20-minute meeting in the future if you can't join.
Mary, I've already emailed him the link and
Oh,
and I've already texted him your information.
okay. All right.
Well, thank you, Mary. If you could tell me your availability, and we'll do it to your
Monday?
availability, and I'll create a special meeting.
Monday?
Well,
Monday?
we'll talk about, and I will send an email to all of our parties.
Yeah,
You may or may not have to attend, Mary, because if we have Pat, we would have quorum. So I believe that we can achieve quorum at a future date. Thank you, everybody. We did talk about a lot of different things. So, and we are ready with 2 different items, which actually it is possible.
What happened to Pat tonight?
I'm sorry, Pat.
What happened to Pat tonight?
Pat was unavailable. So, so with that, let me take the share off.
Okay, I just gotta go.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all. And with that, let's get a motion for adjournment. Oh, here's Peter.
Oh, okay. Let's quickly do a vote.
Peter. Oh, here, panelists, go. All right, we are still here. Okay. Peter, thank
Where is he
you.
not showing up?
Unmute. Here we go.
All right, motion to introduce the first item for a vote.
And do we hear a second?
I second.
Okay, wonderful. All right. So, Peter, welcome. Welcome to the meeting. We have 2 items to vote on. One of them, of course, you are very familiar with. It is the resolution in support of the Mountains Conservancy funding. We have the resolution that will be directed towards all of the parties that are stakeholders in the matter that will receive a benefit from this funding. All of the cities within the watershed area, and as well as to Senator Ben Ellen, who has taken up this bill in the state in the state Senate. Patrick O'Donnell's bill on the Assembly side had died in committee.
Hate to interrupt, but in the interest of time and possibly losing quorum, saying we've received these in advance, we've looked at those. I'd like to kind of move the call to question.
Call the question, and what we can do is we can actually, if any
Oh,
references to the joint meeting for the discussion. So for the resolution and the CIS and the companion CIS, which I can also bring up screen right after we vote. Peter, are you in favor of?
I'd be a really hard-hearted guy who, if I came to the meeting at the last moment and voted no. Wouldn't I know? Yes,
This is the fourth year that we've done this, essentially.
yes, I'm sorry, everybody. It was a hectic evening. Yes,
And bless you for making it.
yes, yes.
I tried to get quorum before. Okay, so yes,
say yes.
Mary, yes, and Thomas,
Yes.
Norman, yes. Okay, so I'm going to stop the share on that. And this was the second part, so everybody's aware that this is the CIS. It's the same as what we had before last year. And now we have a new item. Let me try to get it out. Here we go. Hold on. Let me drag it to the desktop. Let me get this out, 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 out. You guys, I have stuff all over. Okay, so what we have now, I'm going to open it. Thomas, would you like to discuss it while I bring it up on the, it's regarding the Green Energy Hub. Peter, I'm sure that you might have already been with the joint meeting on one of these. Do you recall the Green Energy Hub? Okay, really quick.
Yeah.
So the city of Los Angeles has submitted a proposal, and they have already voted that they very much want to have one of 4 green hydrogen hubs that are being proposed by the Department of Energy, the federal Department of Energy. And they've already voted that we want to be one of the candidate regions with one of 4. There's $8 billion involved in this. They've already voted on it. There's a lot of concern within the neighborhood councils and a lot of stakeholders. And what we have here, and you can always review the joint sustainability meeting. We have discussed this thoroughly, and as have all of our members. The entire joint sustainability group had approved this. There are concerns with the use of water resources in hydrogen production, and the key portion of this is that hydrogen can either be utilized in an extremely green way, or it can be burned, and it would actually be very destructive to the environment. So these comments are built off of that, and this has been well vetted. We have this ready to go. Are we ready to vote?
I
Thomas,
move to call the question.
okay. And second?
Second.
Great, same as before. So, Glenn, aye.
Aye.
Mary, aye. Peter?
Aye.
Thomas, aye. Peter, aye. Let's see.
Unanimous.
And I believe that was it. That's it. Thank you, everybody. Woohoo! Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Good night.
All right.
Bye.
Peace out. Peter, before you go, is there anything that you have as an item which you might want to see on a future agenda? You're in mute. You're on mute. You're still on mute.
No.
Oh, you're being mean now.
All right. Yes, absolutely, Gwen. Thank you for making that offer. I want to think carefully, however, and bring something to committee that will, I think, have the greatest impact interaction between Feed and Be Fed and Northwest. So I want to think a little bit about that, but yes, I will bring something to the future.
Well, with that, Peter, I'm sorry that you weren't able to come to the joint sustainability meeting. Well, there are a few topics, one of which I was discussing just before you were able to join. There are several
And
things
I'm
that
gonna
Richard.
sign out, but good to see you, Peter, and thank you, Gwen. It was a stressful meeting, but good job persevering. Take
Thank
care.
you, Thomas. Thank you. So we will continue on with this. Actually, sorry, there are a couple of big funding items that Richard Watson is actually focusing on. And let me see if I can bring up that joint sustainability agenda. But this is directed towards very specifically here it is, the open space, green space, and 30/30 plan. There are tremendous opportunities to uh, for funding. Oh wait, no, there's another one. I'm sorry. He's starting an organization to make sure that it's a funding opportunity for all of the community gardens in the area and other plant growing, native native plant growing, tree planting organizations to group together for a very large amount of funds for our region, for our community. And so Richard is spearheading this. It is actually a specific funding source, and there's an application process. So there's the more organizations that gather together, the better opportunity to utilize those funds and capitalize on it for our area.
Would you do me a favor and email me his? I mean, does it seem appropriate that I should make contact with him?
Yes.
Yeah.
There have been many different opportunities to speak. In fact, part of it is, I am now a San Pedro community gardener. I'm also now the secretary. But there are other things that are going on with water usage. That and what was a topic just now was how going to two day a week watering is impacting everyone. The price of water is impacting community gardens all through Los Angeles, especially for those who, a community garden, now you have to pay for the water that is part of the usage of your garden plot. And that's a challenge for people who don't have green space. And 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 that's an important place for nutrition and the rest of it. This is your wheelhouse.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Hey, Gwen, I am going to have to
yeah.
go.
Oh, I know. Okay.
Can you
I will forward.
write me an email and suggest how I should move forward with this, whether it should be a contact with Richard
I will introduce you.
or through you somehow.
Yes, I will introduce you, and
Okay.
hopefully we can have those opportunities. All right.
Great. Okay, Gwen.
So the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council Sustainability meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all for attending, and thank you, Peter, for being here.
It was quite an experience driving and trying to get on. And anyway, Gwen, bless you, and I'll see you next time.
Yes, thank you so much for your effort.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.